here.
Topher's upset that it's raining. He can't go out to the golf course.
Actually, we've been talking about learning to play golf, or I have been. He already knows how to play, so this might be an interesting summer on my part. But let's start with hockey here. We got Coach calling in about 10 minutes. You know, last week all four of us went to the series finale of the Good Luck Duck. Mm-hmm. And Oakland won 3-2 after... I think this was the fifth year since the last time they won it. Yep. So 4 years in between there, Davenport won it every year. They came out strong Friday night.
They did. They came out, and that's when we talked to the coach last Friday. That's what he talked about. That all the players, they really wanted to come out with a strong start, and they set the tone early and got a real early goal, and they're very physical, and they got a lot of shots early on, and then Davenport kind of made a comeback there, and it was a really good game.
Absolutely. Now, Austin had to leave a little bit early. I think when you left, it was about the end of the second period, and the score was still tied 2-1. All right. And, that was an exciting game for all of us. I think it was your guys' first Oakland hockey game. Topher, you've been there with me a few times. You've been obsessed with the Duck just as I have. You're pushing for them to bring it in here in a couple weeks.
Oh, yeah. That's what I want. I want that Duck here.
Because you're obsessed with birds and statues. So, that game last week, though, was, like we've said, it was intense. And, both teams came out playing pretty strong, but Oakland had the upper hand for most of that game.
Well, Oakland came out strong in the first period. They just scored 2 goals right off the bat real quick, and they really took control of the game right from the beginning.
Yeah, that first goal... I know the second goal was Jordan McDonald's. First goal, it's slipping my mind.
Brian Baker.
Brian Baker. And, that it was just, the seniors had a big night. But this is something that I think played key Friday night, was that the seniors, the entire starting lineup was seniors, with the exception of the goalie.
Freshman.
Yeah, Corey Hirschuk. Started in goal the entire night. Now, Matt Toder, their normal goalie, was out sick.
The flu, yeah.
But Hirschuk stepped up that game. He did let 2 get by him, but one was a shorthanded goal for Davenport. And the other one, it actually looked like the other one just kind of slipped in. It was just kind of like he should have stopped it, and he just kind of wasn't paying. I don't want to say not paying attention, but
well, the first one, the shorthanded goal that one wasn't very good. I mean, the guy shot it from him. He was basically trying to just get it in the zone and then clear and switch lines, and he just kind of shot it, and it happened to go in. Everybody kind of surprised everybody. I think it surprised even the goalie.
Yep.
But I thought both goalies on both sides, they played very well. There were a lot of shots, but the hockey, it was overall kind of sloppy. But I thought that it was a good game, and glad Oakland came out on top.
Absolutely. Now, that was a great game for momentum building for the Oakland Grizzlies there, because they went into the first round today of the ACHA National Tournament against Mercyhurst and just dominated them, which we'll be talking to Coach about here in a minute. We'll probably touch on the Good Luck Duck again a little bit, but we really want to focus on this game today. They played it at 11:30. I didn't get here until noon. Got on Twitter to follow it, and as soon as I got on, they were already up 5-0.
Yeah,
actually, I think it was 3-0 at the.
They had a very quick start.
Oh yeah, it was. I'm sitting in the Oakland post office talking to Alex Lee about I was talking to him about the show today actually, and every time I tried to say something about the hockey team, they scored another goal. I couldn't keep up with it, and I'm not even there.
I think it's good to note that last week when we were talking to the coach, he mentioned that getting off to a quick start is definitely one of their keys to the game, which is true in most sports and most games. But I just think that both these past games that they won, they've gotten off to quick starts in the first period, and I think that's really key to their success.
Absolutely. Now, today's game, they put up 5 in the second alone, though. They didn't even get off. I mean, they got off to a quick start, but it seemed like they were just out there playing against themselves, really. I mean, we weren't there to actually witness it, so I don't know how Mercyhurst played. But from what I can tell from the stats we have in front of us, it almost seems like they just weren't there. I mean, an 8-0, you don't see that a lot. I think the first game I went to this year was against Buffalo, and that was the same game. Oakland won 7-1. And the first game of the Good Luck Duck series, Oakland won 5-0. They've had some, like a lot of their wins. I think you mentioned it last week, Puckett, that a lot of their wins have been blowouts or, just by large margins.
Yeah, the goal differential on the season for Oakland's very impressive, to say the least. You have, their forwards are obviously playing very well, and their defense is obviously playing very well, not letting up enough or very many goals.
Absolutely. And, this team plays hard. Like Coach said last week, and I talked to him after the game too, their systems change every year. And this is just, it seems like to me that they almost change every game. Because every time we see them play, they're playing a little bit differently. Sometimes they're more aggressive, sometimes they're faster.
Well, we noticed that last week when Tim asked the coach what was the Oakland hockey brand, and he said that it changes every year. But I think, as you just pointed out, it could change game to game in certain, aspects of it. But I think that, as I said before, the one consistent part of Oakland hockey is getting off to a quick start.
Absolutely. And another thing, though, I mentioned it already, momentum. They went into this game with some serious momentum after that Davenport win.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No. I mean, today it said looking on their Twitter page, it said through 2 periods they had 7 players with multi-point games. They were leading 7-0 after the second. They added 1 more goal in the third. A lot of those guys, they can score with different lines. But like we said before, they want to get off to that quick start. We'll see how they fare tomorrow against Arizona State. The game is slated for 11 a.m. Yep. And then if they can go from there and move on.
Yep. Now, we actually have in front of us the bracket right now. Before we went on the air, Austin was kind of laughing because he finds it a little bit, I don't know how you find it, I guess, but you mentioned that it was weird because they have to do an entire tournament in under a week. So, they're going to be playing a game basically every day from now until Wednesday if they make it all the way to the finals.
Well, and it's interesting to note that, college hockey isn't like football where you have, like, the Big Ten and, these major conferences like that. I mean, Oakland, the top seed in their conference is Penn State, which is a 10 times bigger school.
Well, they're not necessarily conferences, I would say. I think it's nationals. They're not.
Yeah.
So
it's the entire league.
They don't play. I don't think there is a Summit League for hockey. They're Division I, but they're not in conferences. And I would assume that Penn State is in the. I don't know if there is Big Ten or not.
There's not Big Ten, but
there actually is Big Ten. They're moving next year.
Well,
next year they're moving into.
Penn State is.
Yeah.
Huh. What do Michigan and Michigan State play in then?
They play in
the CCHA.
CCHA, and so they're not Big Ten then?
It's going to be Big Ten because what's going to happen is that Wisconsin and Minnesota are leaving the what is that league? The Hockey West.
Okay.
And they're going to move into one so that the Big Ten network can get all Big Ten plays.
Money.
Yeah. So what's going to happen is that NCAA, what they're looking into is making everything, breeding it, and Notre Dame's still on the fence if they're going to join.
Typical. To
play Michigan and Michigan State and all their rivals. But Ferris State and some other schools like are staying in the same league. But that's all that's going to happen. So everything's getting moved into divisions.
And so what exact conference does Oakland play in then?
Oakland's still in the same one. They're not moving.
Okay.
They're not going to move. These are just NCAA. These are the big seeds.
All right, now we got Coach Bachusz on. Sorry, I can't say your name for the life of me today. How are you, Coach?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Pretty good. We're all really excited to be here today because, you won the Good Luck Duck last week, and now today you won the first round in the ACHA tournament. How, first of all, before we even get into an interview, just how do you feel about this last week?
We're definitely happy with the way the week has gone. And today was a big step for us here at Nationals. It was nice to get our feet wet here in the national tournament and have a good performance in the first game and get the jitters out of it. The guys were obviously a little bit nervous there in the beginning of the period there, and it was good to get a good win.
Now, before you called, we were talking a little bit about pretty much Oakland's systems, because last week you said they change every year, and I kind of made a comment after watching the last couple games that it almost seems like your guys' systems change a little bit every game. Did you guys do anything differently between the Good Luck Duck finale and today's tournament game?
No, we didn't change anything systems-wise. Really all we focused on was just staying more disciplined within our systems. There are times when the guys are getting a little bit away from what we're trying to do with our systems, but that's national with the speed of the game of the hockey, and for the most part, we kept everything the same today. Just tried to stay a little bit more disciplined.
Coach, first of all, congrats on the win today. And notice that today you had Matthew Totter in goal today instead of the guy you had in the Good Luck Duck because he was out with sickness for that game. Talk about now that he's back, obviously shuts out the other team today, and if he can carry that momentum through the tournament because, hockey always comes down to goaltending. I mean, you can have all those players, but you really want your goaltender to, be feeling it and have the momentum going forward. Talk about him today.
Well, Matt definitely stepped up and played well today. He played very confident, which is what we needed. And that's a confidence booster for the rest of the team when your goaltender is in net playing confident. And we have all the faith in the world in both our goaltenders, and it was obviously a tough decision coming into the game today. But Matthew a little bit older and Corey being a freshman, we thought with the national tournament here, a little bit more spotlight on you, maybe the experience would help them out a little bit more.
Coach, Austin Puggy here. I got a couple questions for you. First of all, do you think that you'll play the Corey in net at all during the tournament, or you think you're going to stick with Matt? And also, I wanted you to comment on Matt had the shutout today, obviously, which is impressive no matter how many shots you face, but only facing 13 shots. Comment on your defense's play today.
Well, we're not sure who will be in goal for us the rest of the tournament. That'll be maybe a game time decision. Depends on what we see in film. And obviously with only 13 shots being faced is not too tough a game, but there were some quality chances that he did have to save, and he did step up and make those. And but as for your other question about the defensive play, the guys obviously did play very disciplined in their defensive zone and did a good job of shutting them down. And the biggest part of us, I think I mentioned last time we spoke, was that we're a puck possession type team, and when we get that puck in the offensive zone, we're able to establish that. That's when we play our best. We did a good job of that tonight. Or this morning, excuse me.
Hey, Coach, it's Topher here. I just got a question. What's your game plan against Arizona State?
Well, we're reviewing that right now. We're actually watching film. I just took a break from that. But, as far as our systems, we really won't be changing much. We'll be keying in on a bit on their tendencies in their power play and their penalty kill, and making very small adjustments to our game that's necessary to play them tomorrow.
Now, you just mentioned how you are currently reviewing film for Arizona State. And last week, and I'm going to go a little bit in the past now, go back to the Good Luck Duck series, that last week you said that all week you were but you were watching film on Davenport and trying to watch what they do. You already had experience with them over the course of the season. But you said you were watching film, trying to tweak, not so much tweak your systems, but ready yourself for what they do and what they bring to the table. How do you feel that watching game film last week helped you against Davenport, and how do you feel like watching the game or watching game footage tonight is going to help you for the game tomorrow?
Well, it's obviously a key for us to study what the opponent's going to bring to the table against us, and not only watching film on them, but watching the game that the games that we play as well to see what our tendencies are like and to make small corrections for our team as well. But scouting the other team when we do have the ability to get to film, it's key to our success, and it's key to the staff to be able to be prepared to see what they're going to be bringing for us. And at this time of the year, we were lucky enough to get a late game that they played, and for the most part, most teams aren't really going to make any drastic changes going to the national tournament. So we're pretty confident we'll know what to expect from tomorrow's morning's game.
All right. Well, I believe earlier this season, I may be mistaking this with another team, so I apologize if I am, but I do a lot of writing for the Oakland Post about the hockey team, and I believe you played Arizona State earlier in this year, correct?
No, we did not, actually.
All right.
We played University of Arizona.
That's what it was. All right. Well, either way, then, that kind of ruins that question, but...
Coach, I know you've probably only watched a little bit of film so far, but is there any key players that Arizona State has that you're going to have to shut down?
Well, they've got a lot of very good players, a lot of talented players, and their top line with Heckel and Delinsky, those are two of the top guys in actually the nation. And we have actually another demon on their team that used to play here a few years back and transferred out there, which I think is Maltese, and we'll be watching him closely as well. But they're pretty deep as far as talent goes, but those few guys definitely stand out in my mind.
Coach, what's it like? Like, are you guys staying out there all week till Wednesday? If that's where you guys end up, if you guys end up in like the national title game?
Well,
yeah, no question. Yep.
All right. So whether you win or whether you make it to the national title game or not, you're going to stay out there to pretty much see it through.
Well, I plan on staying until Wednesday night because that's where we're hopeful to play.
Definitely.
Make that decision if it changes, yeah.
Yeah. Now, today, you beat the 20th seed in the tournament. Now, I think I read online that this year's tournament was expanded to 20 teams, and you pretty much faced the 20th seed here today, but tomorrow you're going to be facing the 4th seed. Do you have much experience against a team like Arizona State who might be playing tougher opponents than, say, Oakland?
I don't really necessarily think that they're playing tougher opponents than we are. Just because they're ranked in that position doesn't mean that they are. We actually play top teams across the nation every single year, and this year, unfortunately, we weren't in the top 10. We have been in the past, but even last year we were. But we know what to expect coming from a team like that. And to tell you the truth, there's not a major difference between their type of game and our game, and we're confident that we can be competitive and hopefully have a good victory there.
All right, Coach, I want to go back to your last game there at the Good Luck Duck. Talk about, first of all, you could tell it was a senior night and it was a Good Luck Duck, so you had a lot of emotions with your players there. You had your full starting lineup there was all seniors, and you could tell, after the final buzzer there, they were really excited to finally get that duck. And talk about, what that means to your team to finally get it back, and talk about, I want to know about the animosity between the two teams, because I know you guys are rivals, and they were getting real chippy there, and there's a lot of talking, and that's good for a rivalry. But is there anything with you as coaches, or I know you guys have a mutual respect, but talk about what it means to take down a rival in Davenport.
It was definitely exciting for our guys, and especially just happy for our senior class. They've had 3 other years of an opportunity to try and win that Good Luck Duck and fell short. And, interestingly, every single year that we have faced Davenport, it's always come down to the final game between us, no matter where either one of us were ranked. And this year was no exception. But, it was a nice way for the cap off senior night to be able to win that Good Luck Duck series. And, it was obviously a heated rivalry between the teams. But at the same time, once we leave the ice, we are still cordial with the coaching staff and the other team. And, for our league, the GLCHL, we're rooting for our league to do the best they can at the tournament, and we wish them the best here with their path.
Coach, I'm looking at the bracket here, and it looks like the top 12 seeds in the tournament didn't have to play today, and therefore they play tomorrow. You were number 13 in the tournament, and you had to play Mercyhurst today. You obviously dominated them. Talk about, you have the last 2 games, you have 2 wins. You think that the momentum of that is going to help you out to play a team that may be more well-rested than you are?
Yeah, I'm actually happy that we were able to play in today because, as I said before, our guys were very nervous in the first period, in the first 10 minutes of the game. Really was fairly sloppy by our team, and that had to do with the nerves. And, I'm happy that we were able to get that out of us early on in the tournament. And so tomorrow, we're hoping to play a full 60 minutes against Arizona State. And, so I'm actually happy that we're able to play today instead of having to wait till tomorrow.
Now, I got a question about the nerves that the team's facing. You guys have been playing in the national tournament for a few years now, and, you would think that, at least for the seniors, for example, they might have some experience playing in this type of atmosphere, in this type of game. What is being done to really calm those nerves just in this really tough atmosphere, especially with the momentum you got going for you right now?
Well, the nerves, we obviously try and talk about that as a staff to try and calm the team down, and the seniors have done a good job as well as talking about the experience of playing here. And but no matter what, there's still a lot of hype coming up to the national tournament. We've played all year very hard to try and make it, so it's only natural for guys to be a little bit nervous coming into their first game. And, but, that is something that as long as you can get the nerves out of here quick, then you can get refocused on your game plan and go back to work.
All right, now, we got a couple more minutes left here, but I'm going to ask, after today's game, who do you think really stood out on the team? There were a couple players who scored a couple goals each in this matchup here today. Ethan Range, Jordan McDonald, Adam Novak, how do you think these guys stepped up today to do such a fantastic job, along with Matt Toder, to shut out Mercyhurst?
Yeah, it was a lot of guys definitely stepped up, and it was a team effort tonight. Everybody contributed, which is nice. And there were guys that had multiple point games, but you also see that there's a lot of different scores throughout those 8 goals. And, all the upperclassmen stepped up, and our power play was actually excellent today. At one point, we were 4 for 4 in the power play, and that's something we haven't experienced this season yet. So guys definitely played well and stepped up, and there's numerous names that I mentioned, but they played a good game.
All right, I got one more question here for you before we end this interview. But our stats in front of us don't have like all the assists and everything for this game. I was just wondering, aside from the players who actually scored the goals in this game today, who are some of the players who played backup to those guys who really stood out?
Besides the guys who scored the goals?
Yeah.
Like I said before, it was a team effort. I mean, there was a lot of guys that played well behind the scenes, and I know Hoffner, he got a goal, but he stepped up and led his power play unit really well. Hoffman played well, Madiak played well, Toder played well, and the defensive court, DeSano played a very good game as one of our captains, and all the senior class, Jeff Schroyer and Brian Jacobs, all those guys played well for us, and need to do again tomorrow coming in Arizona State.
All right, well, we're about out of time here. We're going to have to go to a break here in a minute. So I'd like to thank you for calling in again, Coach. We'd love to have you on again in a couple weeks, especially if you win the tournament on Wednesday. If you make it that far, we would love to have you in then. We appreciate the time. We wish you luck in the tournament going forward. We hope the best for you.
Good luck against Arizona State, Coach.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Take care. Bye. No, it's always great having those guys come on the radio, whether they're here in person, Coach calls in. No, they've got a lot of energy, and they're really excited about what they do. No, but we got to go to break here. Going to talk some basketball on the other side of the break. Talk some basketball. We're going to talk a little bit baseball. And, we're just going to finish out this show as strongly as we can. You're listening to 88.3 WXOU Auburn Hills. We'll be back here in a minute.
Hi, this is Gerald Rice, author of The Ghost Toucher and Flesh Bags. You're listening to WXOU 88.3 FM, The Grizz, Auburn Hills.
Hi everybody, I'm Maggie Ferguson, and I'd like to invite you to
come and listen in to my radio station.
WXOU Auburn Hills.
Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on.
Tune into the Old Front Porch Radio Show Tuesday evenings between 5 and 7:30 for the best in contemporary folk, bluegrass, and roots music.
Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on and listen to the music in the air. Turn your radio on. Turn your radio on. Heaven's going to share.
Parents, this is Milton Crea. What do you get when you mix nail polish remover, drain cleaner, antifreeze, battery fluid, cold medicine, starter fluid, and road flares? The answer? Methamphetamine. Commonly known as speed, crystal meth, or ice, meth is just as addictive and more dangerous than crack cocaine. Repeated use can lead to brain damage, convulsions, even death. Once people start using meth regularly, their life expectancy is 5 years. Spend time with your kids. If you don't, someone else will. This message is brought to you by the Elks National Foundation and the Elks Drug Awareness Program.
I knew right away this fatal accident was caused by a driver who had fallen asleep behind the wheel.
Trooper Buck Carter is a 17-year veteran of the state police.
I've learned to spot the driver who has fallen asleep. There's no skid marks. They don't try to stop or even slow down. They never see it coming.
Sleep deprivation is a serious problem both on and off the highway. Today, 2/3 of all Americans don't get the sleep doctors recommend. 70 million have problems sleeping. And when it comes to the consequences, they never see it coming. Inadequate sleep has been linked to health and safety risks, even premature death. But new treatments are helping millions get the sleep they need. So talk to your doctor or take our free risk assessment on the web at www.sleepfoundation.org. Sleep deprivation. It's real, it's dangerous, and it's more treatable than ever.
March 22nd in the banquet rooms of the Oakland Center on the campus of Oakland University, WXOU presents our 46th annual Birthday Bash, featuring the Scene Aesthetic and Detroit's own The Hard Lessons.
doors closed and nobody knows just where they go.
Come help celebrate WXOU's 46th birthday starting at 8 p.m. with free food and chances for some great giveaways. Featuring performances by Alicia Mashilli, The Burning Ponies,
Your beady eyes and your greasy hair don't make it easy, most can't even bear to stare.
The Hot Pants, and Rival Summers.
If I had you here, it'd be the best day of my life every day.
Come celebrate WXOU's 46th birthday with free food and music. Brought to you by WXOU Radio. Sponsored by Student Video Productions and the Oakland Post.
I knew instantly this fatal accident was caused by a driver who had fallen asleep behind the wheel.
State Trooper William Carter.
I've learned to recognize a driver who has fallen asleep. There are no skid marks. They never see it coming.
Sleep deprivation is a serious problem both on and off the highway. So talk to your doctor or take our free risk assessment on the web at sleepfoundation.org. Sleep deprivation. It's real, it's dangerous, and it's more treatable than ever.
88.3 WXOU.
And welcome back to the pit here on 88.3 WXOU. I'm Damian Dennis, once again here in WXOU studios in the heart of Oakland University's campus, the Oakland Center, joined by Timothy Ponser, a special guy over from the Oakland Post, senior reporter. We got Mr. Austin Puckett. Just going to call him that. He's waiting for me to crack some kind of Sparty remark. We got Topher over there. Chilling. They've switched chairs. Austin's got the full control of the mic for this half. Now, I got a funny story for you guys. And I heard this yesterday at the radio station I interned at. It was a story told by Craig Ross, and he's a regular guest on our show down in Ann Arbor. And it was back in 1992. Michigan was playing in the a regional tournament at the time, and they were facing Oklahoma in this tournament.
Basketball.
Yeah, sorry. And Craig Ross and his mother were in an elevator because they were down I think it was in Virginia or Kentucky at the time. They were in an elevator, and this guy walks on. And his mom, who didn't know anything about basketball, asked him about, like, who they were facing and who the coach was for this team, Oklahoma. And Craig Ross is like, oh, it's just some idiot named Eddie Sutton. And the guy starts cracking up, and they get, like, the elevator stops, the guy walks off, and his mom asks, why was that guy laughing so hard? And he's like, because that was Eddie Sutton. I wanted to share that story because I figured you guys would find that interesting. It's a little bit fun. But we're going to get back to basketball here in a minute. Austin, you went down to spring training this week, I hear.
Yes,
I completely forgot about. I apologize.
All right, well, whatever. Screw you. Yeah, I went down to Lakeland, Florida this week. I actually went twice. The first day I went, the big leaguers were already done, so I had to go back the next day. But, you know, we went down there and saw some of the players walk out. Met Prince Fielder, actually, the $210 million man.
I'm sorry, did you say the 410-pound man? Is that what you said?
It was actually funny because they, in the beginning of the practice, you know, they do their jog around the field or whatever, you know, loosen up or whatever. And the most expensive player on the team finished last in the running. And I thought that was funny.
Sounds awful.
And my sister was like, how does he get paid that much? And I said, you know, if you hit it out of the park, you can go as slow as you want.
Yeah.
But, yeah, saw Verlander pitch. He was pitching, and Cabrera and Prince were both hitting off of him. That was very interesting to watch. There was one time he threw a fastball in there, and Prince smoked it right back at Verlander. It hit him, and it hit him right in the glove. Scary. It was so scary. 'Cause that's the franchise right there.
literally, you got pretty much two of the highest paid guys on the team right there, and one's hitting the ball at the other one, and pretty insanely from the way you describe it.
Right. And I was watching infield practice, and obviously there's a couple things you want to watch. You want to watch Inge, see how he's interacting with his teammates and how he's going to play at second base. And then also you want to watch Cabrera, obviously. Third base, he did look thinner. There's been reports that he lost up to 30 pounds. After being there, I would definitely agree with that, at least 30 pounds. Obviously it's just infield practice. The ball's not going to be going as fast. It's just being hit by the infield coach from home plate. But there was a time when Cabrera charged a ground ball, barehanded it, and threw it to Prince at first base. And I was like, but, you would have never imagined him doing that last year at first base. So it made me feel more comfortable with the position switch.
Now, we had Brad Jeffers call in again last week, and you obviously got to go down there again this week. How would you feel that the Tigers are, like, how do you feel they're going to do this upcoming season? How would you grade them?
I definitely think that they are one of the top 3 teams to win it all.
Who are the other two?
I think you have to say the Phillies with their pitching. And then the other one I would say is a toss-up between the Yankees, because they're always kind of there, and then you have the Rangers that went back a couple times, but they lost C.J. Wilson. I don't know. The third one's kind of up for grabs, but I think the Phillies and the NL and the Tigers and the AL are definitely the teams
Absolutely.
to beat.
I think that with the Phillies, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how Ryan Howard comes back from the injury he had that took him out at the end of the season last year. And the pitching staff is pretty solid, though, but they obviously lost Roy Oswalt, who has retired, but he might come back. I think that the Rangers, if you look at their lineup, I think it is still better than the Tigers, even with the addition of Prince Fielder. I think they have guys like Hamilton and Kinsler and Young, Beltran and Cruz. They have a really, really solid lineup, and they have some good pitchers. And while they did lose C.J. Wilson, they brought in that guy from Japan, that Yu Darvish, who is supposed to be really good. Now we'll see if his game can transition, over across the.
You think the Rangers lineup's better than the Tigers?
I do. I think that their lineup is better than the Tigers.
1 through 9.
Yes, I know that. I agree that the Tigers have 2 of the best hitters in the game right now in Cabrera and Fielder. I think losing Victor Martinez was really big for them. But, they lead. Jackson, who are they going to lead off with? They lead off with Jackson.
It'll be Jackson, Bosch.
Okay, Bosch. Bosch, I really like Bosch. I consider him my Tiger. But I think that he is, he had a really hot start to his rookie year. Then he kind of trailed off. He was hurt last year. Hopefully he can, return to that form. He hasn't really proven that yet. But
at the beginning of last year, he played well.
He did, and then he got hurt. So, if he can return to form. And then what? They go Cabrera, Fielder.
And then it's Peralta,
who's
and then
solid.
Avila,
yeah.
And then they'd be Santiago, and then or Santiago if he plays second. Otherwise, it's the. Oh, we forgot Delman Young. Delman Young's 5.
Who today said he didn't want to be designated hitter. Interesting.
It'd be Delman Young, then Peralta, then Avila, and then.
I think I agree that is a good lineup. I think that if they could get like a very solid person to take on that leadoff spot, Jackson he's
Jackson's
fast,
a 9 hitter,
but
he really is.
He can't. He strikes out too much. I think that I still think that the Rangers have a better lineup in terms of and while they might not have Fielder and Cabrera are better than probably all of the hitters on that team. I think that overall they just have a more complete line. And that's not to say that the Tigers are. The Tigers are still really good.
One thing they definitely have is speed.
Oh, absolutely. They have Ian Kinsler, and then they have But you look last year who they beat us in the playoffs. You look at what they were able to do. They have guys like Josh Hamilton who can be a power hitter, but they also have guys who stepped up. And they had guys who stepped up in. Cruz, who was like their 6 or 7 hitter, and he was hitting 3 home runs a game. So, do I think the Tigers could match that? Yes, I think that you look at a year in the future, getting Victor Martinez to then go behind Cabrera and Fielder. That'll be one of the deepest middle of the lineups ever.
3, 4,
Absolutely.
5.
But I think that I think that the Tigers are, unfortunately, they're kind of weak at the top of the bottom of their lineups. So we'll see. I hope they do well, but. As of right now, I think that the Rangers are a slightly better team.
No, I totally get where you're coming from. Like, it makes sense. I do think that the Tigers will probably win out this year. At least, hopefully, I'm hoping. Obviously, as a fan, that they make it to the World Series.
Oh, absolutely.
But I do agree with what you're saying because, like you said, the Tigers are weak at the top and the bottom, but they're strong in the middle.
Oh, absolutely.
And the Rangers are kind of. I mean, they might not be as strong.
They might not
solid.
They might not have as much power, but
they got enough power all the way through.
And they have a very solid pitching staff, very solid bullpen. I mean, the Tigers are getting there. And, obviously Verlander is arguably the best pitcher in the game. But after that, can Fister match what he did last year? I mean, he came from Seattle. He had a good ERA, but he didn't have a very good win-loss record. He came here, tore it up. If he can, bring that back, can Scherzer match that? And then can we have maybe Porcello, step up and do better than he has been? And then that fifth starter, I mean, maybe you're going to have You're going to have Andy Oliver pitch today.
Jacob Turner.
Jacob Turner's the prize prospect. I mean, we'll look and see what they're... And then, you're solid at the end with Valverde. You have Benoit before that. But, they have had some problems last year.
They just signed Octavio Dotel.
Dotel should be also good in setup. But, you have guys like Phil Koch who can either shut down a lineup or...
Implode.
give up a game. So we'll see.
Implode.
And that's the Rangers last year. Their bullpen, I mean, they really shut down the Tigers in the. They shut down the Tigers in the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see. And I don't think you can ever count out somebody like the Yankees. And then from the National League, I like the Phillies. And that's about it for the National.
And with the new playoff system, you never know what kind of change.
That's something.
But I think that right now, I think they are probably a lock for the AL Central.
Oh, yeah. That's been predicted for about a month now.
Barring some, unfortunate injury to like a Verlander or Cabrera.
Yep. Now, they actually won today 11-1 against, was it Southern Florida in a spring game?
Yeah, it's just a local college. It's more of a tradition of first spring training.
Still, though, it's a good way to get a sense of how the team's going to be going forward, But we got to move on here. We got basketball to talk about. And, Austin, you're really excited about this, I can tell.
Well, we had last night the Michigan Wolverines, much to my chagrin, beat the Illinois Fighting Illini 72-61. This is actually a game I thought Michigan would lose, to be honest with you.
I think a lot of people did, actually.
I mean, anytime you go on the road in the Big Ten, it's going to be tough, but they pull out an 11-point win. They were led by Tim Hardaway Jr. He had 25 points, I believe, which is impressive. And, he hasn't really had a game like that all season long. Usually he's more of a step-back, three-point brick kind of guy.
Now, Michigan is actually – they're playing Penn State Sunday, and on their way back from the game, there's going to be a bigger game going on.
Correct.
Yeah. What game is that?
Well, that's Michigan State and Ohio State. Michigan's at Penn State, which once again it's tough to win in the Big Ten on the road, but Penn State is 4-13 in the conference in last place. I mean, they're just not a good team.
No, it's still possible for Michigan to lose in that situation, but like you said, they're 4-13. They haven't been playing well in conference all year. So
correct. So, I mean, you have Michigan, and most likely odds are they win that game. If they win, then it's all about in East Lansing on Sunday at 4 o'clock.
Now, I might have this a little bit mixed up, but we were talking about it a lot this morning at my internship. And we're pretty much asking our listeners there, and I'm going to ask you guys and our listeners here, who, if you're a Michigan fan anyway, who do you root for? Do you root for Sparty or the Buckeyes?
Oh, I think it depends on if you win, you want to have a share of that title. Right?
Yeah.
And if State loses, Michigan State loses to Ohio State, then Michigan
gets a share of that title.
Because right now Michigan State already is going to hang a banner next year for the Big Ten regular season title.
Michigan State is the Big Ten champions right now. We already know that.
Yeah.
But they can also share in and have Michigan come in if Michigan can, win, and it would be a tie because they split the season series. And then if Ohio State
beats Michigan State
and Michigan wins, then Michigan State, Ohio State, and Michigan would all share in a title.
And all three would hang a banner.
Is this the regular season title?
Regular season.
All right.
Yeah. But in the Big Ten, Tim and I were talking about this yesterday. The Big Ten, it's really about the regular season title. The tournament is a formality.
I feel like the tournament is almost like just like a kick in the teeth for like some of the other teams in the conference.
It's because if Purdue wins the tournament, they get an automatic bid. That's why we have the tournament.
Yeah. Same thing with the Summit League,
which very rarely happens.
Well, the Summit League is completely different because
but
Oakland University Right now
they have to win
They
to get
finished third, and it doesn't matter. If Oral Roberts wins the regular season, which they have, if they stumble in the tournament, they do not get to go to the big tournament. There is no at-large bid for a mid-major like an Oral Roberts.
When I said like the Summit League, I just meant the tournament's like for an automatic bid.
It is for an automatic bid, but like Puckett said, in the Big Ten,
you don't need that. It is a formality.
Izzo hasn't actually fared well in terms of the Big Ten tournament. But then in that same year, he'll lose in the first, second round, but then he takes a team to the Final Four. So at the end of the day, you're like, what really matters more? Is it the tournament in Indianapolis or whatever, or is it the tournament when you actually make it to the Final Four here, in Detroit or like they were in Indy last year? So does it really what matters more at the end of the season? But then you have a conference, Puckett was saying this last night, you have a conference like the Big East, where the Big East regular season title doesn't mean as much because the Big East has some, quality basketball schools.
Absolutely.
In it. Like,
Isn't the Big East nothing but a basketball conference?
Well,
though?
I mean, Pitt kind of had a down year this year, but Pitt is, they've been number one seed the past couple years.
Yeah.
You have a team like Louisville that's pretty good. You have Syracuse. You have UConn. I mean, you have teams in there that are not. I mean, they're not powerhouses, but they're quality basketball schools. So then, when the tournament comes in at Madison Square Garden, I mean, that's when the lights come on. That's when Kemba Walker really made his name last year. I mean, he played well in the regular season, but he had that stretch where they won like 5 straight games in 6 days or whatever, and they ended up winning. And then, they took that momentum into the tournament and won the whole thing, and that got them a higher seed. So that tournament does play into a part here, because if Michigan State, if they were to lose and get a share of this title on Sunday to Ohio State, and then if they were to get bounced in the first round, they would definitely not get a number 1 seed. But if Michigan State wins against Ohio State goes wins 1 or 2, or if the whole thing, they
an
probably
number 1.
I mean, I don't know if it's automatic, but they would have a better chance of getting the number 1.
Well, I do know Michigan right now can't go lower than the 4th seed. I think
in the tournament, probably.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry. I think I saw something today, though, that actually, because they won yesterday, now they're either going to be 3rd or 2nd, depending on the game they play Sunday and the game Michigan State and Ohio State play.
Yes, right. So, I mean,
which makes sense, but
as Tim was talking about with the Big East tournament it's on a bigger stage. It's in Madison Square Garden, the middle of New York City. I mean, that's a big stage. Also,
that probably plays a big part into why it's such a powerhouse in terms of college basketball.
I mean, the Big Ten tournament, I think it's in Indianapolis.
It is. Well, I mean, this is a Midwest conference.
Right,
so what is the Midwest center of basketball? I mean, it's Indianapolis. That's what it is. Hoosiers, everything. Pacers, Hoosiers. That's Indianapolis. Right. But that tournament doesn't mean as much. And like Puckett said, if Penn State, for some reason, because everybody makes it, if Penn State were to just run the table and have an unbelievable thing, they would get a seed in they'd make it to the tournament, and they would get like a 13 or so probably, because they technically be Big Ten champions, and you'd have 4 or 5 teams walking around with T-shirts that say Big Ten champions at the end of the year. But it really doesn't matter in terms of that tournament, unless like someone like that, a lower seed makes it to the tournament by winning the Big Ten tournament.
But the other thing that I wanted to point out with the Big East is that the mystique about it is the past things that have happened. Like last year, we had Kemba Walker catches fire, leads UConn through the whole tournament, wins it, and then goes on to win the whole NCAA tournament.
2 years ago, you had that game that ended at like 3 in the morning with
6 overtimes.
Yes, I mean,
you had Syracuse and Connecticut.
And I mean that is.
And even before that, you had I think it was Zach Diemendorf or something like that, and he played for Syracuse, the point guard. He catches fire. He's hitting threes all over the place, and there's that iconic image of him on the scorer's table, and he's like up with the the student section in Syracuse. It's just a different style of play, and it's a different mystique around Madison Square Garden, Big East tournament. That's what matters. In the Big Ten, if you win the regular season tournament, that's what matters. It's proven that Izzo doesn't care about the Big Ten tournament. He just doesn't. I personally think that if for some reason State does the unthinkable and loses at home on Senior Day to Ohio State, they share the title. They basically hand away a title to Ohio State and Michigan. I have a feeling that Izzo is going to
lose it.
No, I really think that he's going to turn it on for the tournament, and I want Michigan in that tournament. I want to play them. I really do. Yeah. Because it will go down as who's the better team.
Now, I got a question. Going back to how I asked you guys, who do you root for in this game, Ohio State or Michigan State? And I know, me and you are both technically Spartan fans, so I'm kind of going that way. I'm never going to root for Ohio State in any case. But, in football, Michigan and Ohio State is the bigger rivalry than, Michigan and Michigan State.
It
But
has
in
been in the
basketball,
past, yes.
it's different than that. It's Michigan State and Michigan when it comes to Big Ten basketball.
It's really Michigan State. Well, really, it's Michigan State and Ohio State in basketball. I mean, really.
Well, I'm going from Michigan's perspective anyway in this, because they're the ones who are going to kind of be they're kind of like that.
They're going to be the most vocal in this debate.
Yeah.
I mean, Michigan has been fighting to.
I feel like they're sneaking in the back door.
Yeah, well, really, they are because they're. I mean, nobody talks about Michigan basketball because of what happened in the '90s with the Fab Five and stuff. But I just think that Michigan obviously needs Ohio State to win to have any shot. I really think that they'll win at Penn State, and then if Ohio State wins, then they get a share of the Big Ten title. And I mean, it's stupid. I mean, whether you want to say, "Oh, Ohio beat Michigan State" or whatever stupid stuff they do, they won't say Ohio State.
All three teams, fan bases for all three are just going to say stupid crap all weekend until these games are played.
But when it comes down to it, Michigan State is in the position. They control their own destiny. They win in their end. It's been like that the last two games. This one's at home on Senior Day. You have Draymond Green. You have Austin Thornton, both seniors for the Spartans. They'll take control, and the state is in their own.
Now speaking of seniors who take control, though.
Absolutely. Let's go from a local perspective here. We're at OU.
Yeah.
We have Oakland University. They're going to be playing on Sunday night in their
Southern Utah.
Against Southern Utah at 9:30. The game is going to be on Fox Sports Detroit Plus. It's going to be at 11:30 a.m.
And one more thing about that, it's going to be live, called here in WXOU by Matt Pocket and Brian Everson.
Absolutely. This is a big opportunity for Reggie Hamilton to showcase who he is right now. As I wrote in the post this week, he has 6 straight games where he has scored 30 or more points. He's absolutely on fire right now. They've won 5 of the past 6 games. The only loss they had in there was their bracket buster at Illinois State. The other games have been 5 straight league games. They're on an absolute tear right now. They went from having maybe like the 5 or 6 seed to securing that 3 seed, which is huge in this tournament.
Oh yeah.
I think they should beat Southern Utah. Southern Utah gave them kind of a scare on senior night and went to overtime, but I think that Reggie Hamilton, if he can continue his success, he can take over games. I think they should be able to beat Southern Utah. Well, look, I think that they could fare well against someone like a South Dakota State or whoever will be in that second game. And then if they can get a title game against probably Oral Roberts, I think that'll be a big opportunity. Their first game, which was here at OU, they didn't fare very well. It was the first game back from break. Oral Roberts really took control of the game in the second half. But the second game at Oral Roberts, it was very close. And, I was talking to Kevin Romanchik about this. Drew Valentine had like a questionable technical on him.
Yep.
And he was like...
That played a part in that game.
It played a big part in that game. It changed momentum. And, you complain about refs. A lot of teams do that. But Campy was like furious about it. And they really let it get to him. And they were neck and neck with him. I think that Reggie Hamilton is really going to take it upon himself. Dominique Morris was just named the Player of the Year in the Summit League. A lot of people think that Reggie maybe should have been that. He's the leading scorer in the nation across, everyone. So we'll see. I really think that they have a chance here because of that momentum. That's what it is, especially in these mid-major tournaments. It's about a hot team. Unlike like we were just talking about this Big Ten tournament, Michigan State isn't going to have any. There is pressure, but there's not really any pressure on them to go in Indianapolis and win 3 straight games. Oakland has pressure on them because that's the only way they're going to the tournament. It's tournament or bust. They don't have. There's no consolation prize. Yes, they might go to the CIT tournament or something, but there is no at-large bid for them.
Now, I was actually looking up a little bit of Oakland stats this morning. I had no idea they got up to 11-7 in the conference. I don't know how I missed that because we're in here every week talking about Oakland basketball. At the Post, that's primarily what we cover in the sports section. I don't know how I missed that. Well, they jumped up to that 3rd seed.
It was that 5 straight conference wins. They really caught fire here at the end. And Campy really talked some sense into them. They have people stepping up. Obviously Reggie, 6 straight 30-point games. But you have a guy like Travis Bader who kind of had an early season slump. He's really caught fire as of late. And he can add 15 to 20 points to Reggie's, 30. You have guys like Petro stepping up. You have guys like Drew Valentine stepping up. But it comes down to that senior leadership of Reggie Hamilton, who is really taking control of these games. And I really think that they can take that momentum and they could get a bid to the tournament.
And if you look at a lot of their losses in conference, there's been a couple that probably shouldn't have been losses. But, they lost to Oral Roberts both times and South Dakota State. And, if you look at those scores, though, they were pretty close each game. Like, let's say Oral Roberts, that second game, they were only down by 7.
Yeah.
The first game, they were down by 9.
Oh, yeah.
North Dakota State, they were down by 3. IUPU by 4. In the bracket buster, they only lost by 4. And the teams that they have beat, or even some of the other ones out of conference they've lost to, they've given every team a run for their money.
Oh, absolutely.
Those same players you named are part of the reason why this is happening.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're stepping it up and being able to put these points on the board, even against teams they've lost against. I think Oakland will fare really well in this tournament, especially getting that start with Southern Utah. They already faced them once. They defeated them.
They swept the season series. They did. They kind of they had a big lead on senior night.
Yeah.
And, Reggie had a buzzer beater 3 that could have been the last shot of his at home go in and out. It rattled, and it would have been the perfect ending to his home career, but they ended up taking Toronto overtime. They only allowed 2 or 4 points. I think they should beat Southern Utah handily, but they're gonna have to win 3 straight games in 3 straight days. The band just got there. The players left today.
Kevin Romanchik and the WXOU guys are out there.
So they're going to have to really, show their stuff. But I really think that Reggie can take control of this team and lead them in the tournament.
Really quick prediction for Oakland.
Oh, I think they win the tournament. I really do, and that's not me trying to be a homer. I really think that they have this momentum.
Let's go.
I think it's going to come down to them and Oral Roberts. That's easy to pick.
Let's quote Oakland hockey's head coach. They got to play their systems and play hard.
Well, they got to rely on Reggie to win. That's what it comes down to.
That's what it's like in all basketball games. Austin, for Michigan State, Ohio State, who you predicting?
I don't think there's any way that Draymond Green loses his last home game. I'm going to pick the Spartans to win and win the title outright.
I'm going to join you in that. That's going to be my pick for the week. I need to get a 40th win on the record here in the pit. I've been neglecting it for about a month now. But, we want to direct you to our Facebook page. Look up The Pit Sports Talk with Damian Dennis. I update it pretty regularly. We get content added from everyone here in the studio. I got a couple other guys outside who contribute, some articles here and there just about random stuff, whether it be sports, fitness, video games. Got Kyle Orski there writing, trying to get a little bit of a different feel to it. Follow us all on Twitter. You got Tim Ponser over here. Just follow him. It's at Timothy_Ponser. Austin Puckett, just his name like that. Me, DJ Dennis OU. I'm not going to be here next week, and I'm leaving it in the hands of Ponser and Puckett. How do you guys think that's going to go for you?
Well, we'll be recapping the Oakland University tournament win, and then we'll be previewing the Big Ten championships of one Michigan State and whoever else decides to share the title or whatever.
And you know what? I want to say something. I'm going to be at a concert, but the concert doesn't start right away. So if Oakland hockey wins, I'm going to call into my own show.
Well, as the usual host of this show, I may not actually answer the phone.
Well,
apparently we don't take calls.
Say.
We don't
By the way, next week we will be taking calls because he's not here.
I need to give a quick shout out to one Noah Ponser because I know he's listening. He's a very loyal listener to this show, and I appreciate it.
Ponser, is that like a family relation or something?
No.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to The Pit here on 88.3 WXOU. Like I said, next week it's going to be Ponser and Puckett in here alone. I wish you guys luck with that, and I know you guys are going to put on a great show. See you here next week on The Pit Sports Talk, 88.3 WXOU Auburn Hills.